Hi, Kelly. Well, Secretary Clinton left about 2 hours ago from her home here in Washington, D.C. We do know from our colleague Tamara Gitt that she did arrive in Chappaqua, New York. She is at home there now. She met with the FBI, as Laura mentioned, for 3.5 hours at the headquarters here in Washington. Her campaign spokesperson, Nick Merrill, tells us it was a voluntary meeting, but it was under oath, of course. Here's a statement from the campaign. Quote, Secretary Clinton gave a voluntary interview this morning about her email arrangements while she was secretary. She is pleased to have had the opportunity to assist the Department of Justice in bringing this review to a conclusion. Out of respect for the investigative process, she will not comment further on her interview. Of note, just a little while ago, Clinton's former chief of staff at the State Department, Cheryl Mills, left the Clinton residence here in Washington, D.C. She does not have a formal position on the campaign, but is a longtime confidant and advisor. She also was interviewed previously by the FBI about their records keeping at State Department. If you look back at the history of this controversy, it is notable that Secretary Clinton set up her private email server on the same day as her confirmation hearing in 2009. 2 years later, she sent this email to State Department employees after a cyber hack was noted in the press. Quote, this is from June 29, 2011, quote, avoid conducting official department business from your personal email accounts. Also of note, in August 2012, the State Department Inspector General issued a scathing report against then-Secretary Clinton's ambassador to Kenya, Scott Gratian. He had worked on her campaign as well, and he was accused of sending sensitive information through a personal email account. He was later fired, Kelly.
All right, Jennifer Griffin bringing us all the details from Washington. Jennifer, thank you. As we move forward now, this is a big step in this investigation, which has been going on for a long time now, ever since the House Benghazi probe first revealed the existence of that private server in the Clintons' New York home. Let's bring in Thomas Dupree, Jr., former Deputy Assistant Attorney General. Thomas, thank you for joining us this afternoon. This is a very weighty matter and very serious for the Clinton campaign, is it not?
It absolutely is, and today's developments indicate that this investigation at long last is nearing a conclusion. Typically, the way these investigations work is that you'll sit down with the target to interview the target at the very end, so it's really the culmination of the long investigatory process, and I would imagine that the next step is the career investigators and prosecutors will sit down and prepare a recommendation that will go to the Attorney General.
Thomas, I find it striking when Jennifer was giving her report, she went back to 2011 when then Secretary of State issued a directive to all of the employees of the State Department to watch how they use their emails and their private emails, and she becomes someone who has violated the very missive that she put out. What does that say about her practices? Is she above the law, or does she act within the law?
Well, it's worrisome because it clearly indicates that she's operating under a potential double standard here. And I think it's also relevant from a legal perspective in that it underscores the fact that she knows what the law is. Right. One defense that you often see in criminal prosecutions is, well, I may have violated the law, but it was inadvertent. But that email you just mentioned shows that she knew what the law was, and she apparently simply chose not to follow it.
You know, we all make mistakes. We all make sins. But to, for something like this and then not to be as forthcoming or as transparent as it seemingly appears right now, we don't know the totality of that interview process that she had for 3 hours with the FBI. It's obvious the FBI conducting this investigation may know a whole lot more than even the Clintons knew going into this. What do you think might have happened, and what will they perhaps do in following up with this investigation?
Well, I think you're absolutely right in that when she sat down with the FBI this morning, I'm confident that they had testimony or evidence or documents that she either had never seen before or that she didn't know was in the government's possession. And so it can be very dicey because if you come in prepared to tell your story and during that interview the FBI slides across the table some testimony or some emails that you didn't know they had, it can be pretty dangerous. You'll recall back in the 90s, President Bill Clinton thought he could sail through his deposition investigation in the Monica Lewinsky case until it turned out the prosecutors had the evidence. So we'll see what happens. We should know in a month or two.
And, you know, prosecutors aren't always as always forgiving as we would like them to be. They can prosecute a ham sandwich. So in this particular case, where we've seen people go to jail and be punished or even fired in the case of one of her underlings at the State Department when she was there at the State Department, it could be anybody's guess what's going to happen after the FBI comes out with this investigation conclusion.
And another relevant precedent, I think, is David Petraeus. We all recall what happened to him when he was found to have mishandled classified information. And I think that the Justice Department is going to need to make sure that it applies the rule of law equally here. It's going to need to take a look at the evidence. It's going to need to look at it in a neutral and independent manner, free of any political influence or taint, and frankly, take them where the law and the evidence commands them to take it.
Wow. All right, we're continuing to follow the developments of this breaking story, very historical. Thomas Dupree, Jr., former Deputy Assistant Attorney General, thank you for joining us today, sir.
Thank you, Kelly.
And let's get to the politics of this now. Joining me is Judith Miller, an adjunct fellow at the Manhattan Institute for Policy Research, a Pulitzer Prize-winning author and journalist, also a Fox News contributor. Hi, Judith.
Hi, Laura.
You know, when I heard that you were coming on the air today, I couldn't wait to talk to you. I want to know what you think the fallout will be over this FBI interview today.
Well, look, I think this is the worst possible news for candidate Clinton, soon to be presumptive and, one presumes, the actual nominee of the Democratic Party. This is not what she wanted to be talking about this weekend. I mean, first of all, there are no official meetings scheduled this weekend. Her first appearance is next Tuesday. But I think it does raise additional questions about what Bill Clinton was thinking when he decided to meet with Loretta Lynch, the Attorney General, on that airport half-an-hour meeting. I mean, it just raises all kinds of questions about how worried the Clinton administration in waiting is about what is likely to come out of the FBI. I mean, first we have the Office of Inspector General's report from the State Department that basically says she misled the department, her aides misled them about the email server. Now we have an FBI concluding its inquiry. This is not what she wants for her July 4th celebration.
Well, isn't it good, though, that she's doing it on the 4th of July weekend where a lot of people are distracted, doing other things? There's some time before she makes her next public appearance. You've been watching politics for a long time. What do you expect will happen next?
Look, I think this is a story that is not going to go away unless and until the FBI makes it go away. That is, there are too many questions about this server. It has been going on for over a year. She herself volunteered, supposedly, to meet with the FBI last August, you know, almost a year ago. They did not take her up on that offer because usually the FBI waits until the end of a criminal investigation to meet with the target or subject of that investigation. But I think that this is and I've said from the beginning, it is a very, very serious matter, and I don't see how the presumptive nominee of the Democratic Party can get the nomination and win an election if this is hanging over her head. So if one assumes that she's going to be exonerated, then it's good news for her to get this behind her. But if it continues, it is a devastating, potentially devastating blow to her candidacy.
Okay, so if you're her lawyer, you don't want her to say very much. If you're her campaign manager, you probably wanted her to take the meeting to smooth over the public perception. So which side wins out on a day like this? What's next in that regard?
Well, she has not said anything about this, and she's not going to, because the last time she said something about this, which was basically this is a security inquiry, Jim Comey, the FBI director, snapped back, "We don't do security inquiries. I don't even know what that is. This is a criminal investigation. Investigation as in FBI." So the less said by Hillary Clinton and her aides and assistants at this point, the better from her standpoint.
In 3.5 hours, you think that's going to be it? Will she be back in front of the FBI?
There's no way to tell that. I mean, it's also, you know, having done one of these FBI investigations in connection with the leak of classified information, I know that everything you say is going to be weighed against what others have told the FBI. And if there's a contradiction, whether or not she's culpable or liable for anything relating to the email server, if there's a contradiction and they can prove that she made a misstatement, then she's potentially liable to perjury charges. So this is a very serious moment for her, and no matter how she kind of attempts to slough it off and say, well, this is, you know, this is just concluding something that's gone on for too long, this is a moment of truth for Hillary Clinton.
All right, Judith Miller, thank you so much for being with us today. Always appreciate hearing your side. See you later.
Thank you very much.